Hello there and welcome back to my channel. If you are a teacher and you're looking for a single tech tool that can be used to make learning interactive, provide a collaborative space for your students, and give your students a voice, you have to check out FigJam. It's an interactive online digital whiteboard from Figma that you can use with your students for group activities, class brainstorming sessions, and collaborative discussions. Plus, it's completely free for teachers. In this video, I'm going to share my personal 5 favorite features of FigJam, as well as give you some ideas for how you can use them as a teacher. So grab your device and get ready to follow along. My first favorite feature are the sections. FigJam is an infinite canvas whiteboard, which means you have as much space as you need and that whiteboard can keep expanding. On one hand, this is a huge advantage, but on the other hand, it can be a little bit overwhelming when you have so much space and you're trying to keep things organized. But thankfully, FigJam has already thought ahead and created sections in order to alleviate that issue. Sections essentially create boundaries within your whiteboard, which allows you to establish confined spaces of various sizes. You can almost think of sections like pages or boxes, but the best part is you are not confined to a standard size like an 8.5 by 11 or 16:9 ratio. This means you have freedom as a teacher to create as many sections as you need, resize them as you go, and even create sections within sections, what I like to refer to as sectionception, to stay organized and make it easier for your lessons to flow. Getting started with sections could not be easier. I'm going to show you using just a basic blank FigJam board. Down at the bottom, you will notice this button that has a square with a smaller rectangle in the top left. This is the section button. Once you click on it, it will turn purple, and then on the board, you can just click and drag in order to create a section. As I already mentioned, you can make it any size that you want, and once you have the section, you can resize it as needed by clicking and dragging in the corners. You can also give it a name. So up at the top where it currently says section 1, if I double click, I can change the name. So example section. Or once you click on a section, you'll see the rename button right up here at the top. To the left of that, you're going to see a button that allows you to change the color. So you'll get a drop down of some different color options, but you can also create custom colors. So you can type in a specific hex code or use the eyedropper tool to pull a color from an image or something you've already inserted on the board. For now, I'm just going to choose this light purple color. And the last button I want to bring to your attention is the show and hide button. Currently, this section is showing, which means it is visible. But if I click the hide section button, you will notice that you can still see there is a section there, but it is now hidden. So any elements or content within that section will not be visible. One of my favorite ways to use this feature with my students is to actually set up the whiteboard in advance. I will already create sections, especially for things like class discussions, but I will hide the sections and show them as the lesson goes. That way I can experience it in real time with my students. For example, I might create a section for each different discussion question that has the question as well as space for my students to respond, maybe on sticky notes or with text boxes. But I'm going to hide these sections. So when my students first gain access to the FigJam board, they're not able to see those upcoming discussion questions. But as we pace through the lesson, I can show them and my students will have an opportunity to respond. From there, I can even go back and hide the previous discussion questions. That way, I'm only revealing one at a time, and it can really help my students to stay focused on the task at hand and kind of reduce that feeling of overwhelm. I also love to use sections to build out designated work areas for small groups. That way, each group has their own section. You can even color code them. You can change the names of the sections, but that way each group has their own space to work, and it just helps to keep that process a lot more organized. My next favorite FigJam feature are the sticky notes. These are super basic, but sometimes those basic features are actually the most useful because you're able to adapt them and use them for a variety of things. For example, you can utilize sticky notes to be able to record ideas during brainstorming sessions, sorting activities, student responses, SEL or social emotional learning check-ins, check for understandings, and so much more. Just like with the sections, it's super easy to get started with the sticky notes. All you need to do is click the sticky note button down here, or on your keyboard, you can use the shortcut S. If you click the letter S, it will automatically prompt you to insert a sticky note. You can kind of see the faded color of where that sticky note will go. Once I click with my mouse, it will place the sticky note. From there, just like with the sections, I have the ability to change the color. So using this drop down, I have several different options that I can choose from. So for example, if I want a blue sticky note, I also can change the font. So if I choose the drop down, I have 4 different options, and I can choose the text size. So small, medium, large, extra large, huge, or I can actually type in a specific number. I also can bold the text on the sticky note, strike through, and I can even add links. This is super helpful, again, if you want to provide a link to students to be able to access a resource outside of FigJam, and then they can just utilize the whiteboard for that discussion part or some sort of a small group activity that goes with that additional resource. You also can add a bulleted list within the sticky note, and you can choose to show or hide the author. So it will have the student's first name if it is shown, but if you hide it, then it just looks like a regular sticky note. Of course, just like with the sections, these are resizable. So if you click and drag in the corner, you can resize it as needed. Plus, there are these handy dandy little quick add buttons. So on any of the sides, if you hover over the dot, it will turn into a plus sign. Once you click that, it's gonna automatically add another sticky note either in that row or column. So it keeps them nice and lined up, super neat and organized. But once you insert the sticky note, of course, you can still move it around or resize it as needed. So with that color coding feature, I love to either strategically place my students in groups ahead of time and assign them a certain color sticky note in order to establish those groups, or I love to color code the sticky notes as my students share out their ideas. So when we find connections between 2 different students, we can give their sticky notes the same color and move them around on the board to show those connections. Plus, as I mentioned, the sticky notes do have authorship, which again, you can show or hide, but from the teacher perspective, that authorship makes it really quick and easy to see which students have contributed and which students may need additional support. One of my quick and easy but still favorite ways to use sticky notes as a teacher is to give each student their own designated space to respond, especially for whole group collaborative activities like answering discussion questions or doing a check-in. I love that I can already have the sticky notes inserted ahead of time to save time during the actual activity. Plus, at a quick glance, I can easily see which students have responded and which students need more time. My third favorite FigJam feature are the ink tools. FigJam boards have a built-in marker and highlighter tool, which are pretty standard for most online digital whiteboards. But the ways in which you can use them, especially when you pair them with some of the other features and tools, is what makes them so powerful. The marker and highlighter tools allow students to show what they know in a more visual way, which not only differentiates whiteboard activities, but also allows your students to be creative and express their thoughts and ideas in a larger capacity. So within a FigJam board, you'll see the marker tool just to the left of the sticky notes, but there's some secret tools hidden underneath. If you click on the marker, from there you can choose the highlighter tool as well as washi tape. There is an eraser tool. You can change the thickness. So if I have the marker tool selected, I can choose between a thin or a thick stroke. You also can choose from the set colors as well as choose a custom color, just like you could with the sections. Now, once again, there are some keyboard shortcuts. So if you just click M on your keyboard, it will turn your cursor into the marker tool. From there, you can use it just like any standard marker tool to annotate directly on the whiteboard. Similarly with the highlighter tool, which you can use the keyboard shortcut Shift M to switch over to that. You have the option between a thin or thick stroke as well as some color options, but you do not have the capability to choose a custom color for the highlighter. Let's say with yellow selected, from there I can just use it like I would any other highlighter tool. And you may notice when I kind of went over top of that marker tool, I can actually select that whole annotation. So if I swap back to my regular mouse, the select tool, I can select and move around those elements. I can change the color. So if I want to change the marker color from black to red, all I need to do is change it in the drop down. I also can change it to a thin line or go back to the thick stroke. I can also select that highlighting that I created. So if I click there, I once again can change the color as well as change the thickness. You can also resize and even rotate these. So for example, if I select that marker tool, I can resize it as needed, but if I hover over the corner, I also can rotate it. Now currently, these two are kind of overlapping, so it was rotating both of them, but I can move them away from each other and do it individually as well. There also is an eraser tool. So if I click back on the marker and hover over eraser, it is worth noting that this is going to erase that entire stroke. So if I click on it, the entire stroke disappears. And finally, one of my favorites is the washi tape. If you click on the washi tape, you have a few different designs that you can choose from, but you also have the ability to create custom washi tape by inserting in an image. I'm just going to use this fruit one that's already there. I can click and drag on the board to make it as long as needed. And once again, if I go back to my select tool, I can always shorten or lengthen it or change the design once it's already inserted. Now keep in mind, the ink tool is only going to show the most recently used tool. So if I was just using the marker tool, it's going to display the marker tool. If I was just using washi tape, it's going to show the washi tape. But you can always click on it in order to jump to those other tools or use the keyboard shortcuts if you're familiar with those. Now, if you have some kind of an interactive smartboard or projector in your classroom, FigJam is perfect for this because one of my favorite ways to use FigJam and the ink tools is to annotate directly on top of text and images, especially on an interactive board, and being able to invite my students up to annotate directly on the whole class board as well as on individual devices. You can actually insert a PDF document directly into a FigJam file and then use those ink tools to annotate digitally on top of the text. Keep in mind, you may need to resize the PDF or the image so that the stroke thickness of the marker or the highlighter tool makes sense for the size of the text or the image that you're using. Now, since you can change the color of the marker tool as well as the highlighter, I love being able to have students color code their annotations according to a key or having each different student group utilize a different color. Plus, you can combine these ink tools with some of the other features like the sticky notes and stamps in order to make the annotations that much more interactive and engaging. Outside of just basic reading passages, you can also use these tools to annotate on top of math word problems or images you're exploring in science or social studies maps just by inserting in an image. Once you are done, you can then select the PDF or image along with all the annotations and export the selection as a new image or PDF to share with students on an LMS or even print to display in your classroom or have students add to their physical notebooks. My fourth favorite FigJam feature are templates. Now, technically, these are all my top favorites, and we know teachers don't have actual favorites. But if we're being honest, I think this one is my actual favorite because it is so time-saving, and as teachers, time is one of our most valuable resources that we can just never get enough of. Look, if y'all didn't know, FigJam's education team has created so many pre-made templates that are 100% free to use and completely customizable, which means you can edit them to meet your students' needs. So if you're not familiar with these, be sure to check out figma.com/@K12education, as well as figma.com/@education to browse some of the top templates for teachers. Both of these will be linked down in the description box for easy access. You can browse templates right within an existing FigJam board by keyword, activity, or select student and educator to quickly find templates that work for what you need. Plus, there are even templates you can quickly add to sections that you create, such as icebreakers, brainstorms, and check-ins. I personally love to use templates in real time in the middle of a lesson when maybe my students need to brainstorm a little bit further on a topic or the lesson goes in a different direction than what I was originally planning on, so I don't have anything already made in advance. We know those are some of our most powerful teaching moments, but it can be difficult to facilitate if you're trying to create something from scratch. For example, if I had two students show different strategies on how to solve a math problem, I might insert a compare and contrast graphic organizer so we can then identify similarities and differences between the models in order to make connections. And one of my favorite parts about these templates is that a majority of them already have written and visual directions included. So students can start using them independently, and they also include differentiation opportunities, such as options to add voice memos or prompting students to share their thinking using a variety of tools like the marker as well as sticky notes. Last but certainly not least, my fifth and final favorite FigJam feature are the widgets. I think we saved the best for last because students absolutely love these. Now, similar to templates, widgets can be a huge time saver for teachers, but they also make your lessons that much more engaging and interactive. Now, because widgets are built into your FigJam board, they're very easy to use. All you need to do is come down here to the plus sign. When you click it, you're going to see a few different options across the top: stickers, templates, and then you will notice widgets. Once you click on widgets, it's first going to show you any recent widgets that you've used, as well as widgets that you have saved. You will notice some of the widgets I have saved that I personally love include the activity tracker. So if I insert this in, I can name an activity such as brainstorming. And once I click on the play button, it's going to start a timer. When I click stop, it's going to show me the length of time that that activity took. This is great for holding students accountable during work. That way, students have to complete different activities and they can actually time and see how long it takes them to complete each component. I'm going to go back into my widgets by clicking the plus sign. You'll notice that widget is now displayed under recent because I just recently inserted it. But another one I want to bring your attention to includes the flip card. This is a quick and easy way to make basically like digital flashcards for students. So for example, you could put a vocabulary term on the top, so vocabulary word, and then the definition on the back. From there, you can change the color, so let's go green, and you can change the size for either small or large. Once you click the X, this works just like a traditional flip flashcard. You click flip and it's going to show the backside of the card. Now I will say the widget I probably use most frequently is the voice memo. Now, if I click on the plus sign, I don't need to go searching and scrolling to find it. I can actually just type in voice memo. It will pop right up. If I click, it's going to insert in what looks like a little recording button. This will allow me to actually record my voice, and then students will be able to replay that as an audio file. Similarly, my students can use this to record voice memos to me or to other members of their group. I love to use this as a teacher to record oral directions for my students, but also to give them feedback. That way they can hear my voice, they can hear my tone, but I love to include it as a differentiation option for students as well. So if I have a student who prefers to orally explain maybe a solution to a math problem rather than typing it out or using some of the other tools, they have that option. Speaking of differentiation, another widget I love is the photo booth. So if I click on the plus sign and then type in photo booth, you're going to see the little camera icon. This will allow you or students to quickly capture and insert photos into a FigJam board. All you need to do is click the red button. It's going to open up the photo booth. If it's your first time, you're going to need to allow it access. That camera will pop up. I'm going to go ahead and take a picture. Once it has captured that picture, it's actually going to print out on the photo booth. From there, it's going to have the name, but I can go in and edit it. So I could use this as a caption for the photo, and I can drag this around, resize it as needed on my board. But obviously, it doesn't just have to be used for taking selfies. I could have students who prefer to maybe do their work on physical paper and pencil, use the photo booth tool to take a picture of their work and insert it into the board. I also love to use that photo booth widget to have students collect real life examples. For example, if we're studying types of energy in science, students can find examples of that around the classroom, around the school, or even at home and capture pictures of it using the photo booth. Then we can actually use those images for different in-class activities like sorting activities or for discussion prompts. But I don't have to go searching for the photos. They're actually photos that my students have captured and inserted in themselves. Now, outside of just using these with students while they love them, there also are a lot of ways you can incorporate these into your practice as a teacher, such as collaborative planning sessions. Some of my favorite widgets to use as a teacher, especially for collaborative planning sessions, include Simple Vote. So if you have to vote on something as a team, it's a really quick and easy way to capture everyone's ideas, as well as the Timeline widget. Now, those are my top favorite FigJam features. Honestly, the list could have kept going, but if there are features that you love, go ahead and share them out in the comments down below. I would love to learn from you, and I know everyone else watching this would as well. Now, if you are just getting started using FigJam, be sure to check out my tutorial video. That's gonna walk you through step by step how to get started, how to use some of the tools I mentioned in this video as well as other ones. But I also have a video all about how to get started using FigJam with your students. It's gonna break it down, give you a very simple process to follow. So the links to both of those will be down in the description box for you. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Share it out with your teacher friends, other staff members in your school who you think might enjoy it. As always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, and I will catch you in the next one.